new region? Question mark, question mark. Hey guys, welcome to the channel, Sunny here, and this article just dropped. It's from today, the 17th of November. Also, we're doing this reading live on my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/bprimegaming. Come and follow, and you won't miss stuff like this whenever it's happening. Completely new article just came out, and it's about potentially part 2 of Land of the Morning Light. So we'll be reading this here. I skimmed through it real quick, but it's going to be my first read through as well, so let's see. The Land of the Morning Light was not born suddenly. There was a steady effort to add Korean color, and there will also be stories about Seoul. So with the Land of the Morning Light, they tied a lot of real Korean folklore and history into the game. And of course, there's a lot with Seoul as well. So it looks like they're going to be doing something with that in part 2. Jae, head of the Black Desert Game Design Department at Pearl Abyss, attending the G-Star conference, G-Con, held at the game exhibit, gave a lecture on the topic Development Period of the Land of the Morning Light to discuss the Seoul area in the future. Dam announced his plans to present the Hongwei province. In a lecture, blah, 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 we're preparing for the Hongwei-do exhibition, which will feature the Seoul area. He also added Wusa and Megu's home time will also appear. Unlike the Donghae edition, it is expected to be developed much faster. So you know we're going to get that a couple years after Korea still. Please look forward to it as much as possible. So all this is like kind of big. This is stuff we all expected to see announced at Caltheon Ball, which is going to be the 16th of December. So I guess we get a little prelude. I think we can definitely expect them to do some announcements about this now. It also makes sense that they kind of messed up. So here, let me show you guys this. Some people have not seen this. Are not aware about this being in the game. But if you go under here under upgrade, right? You have like all these items. And if you look at this one here, something shouldn't be there. So this is the necklace enchant, and if you look at the second item, it's the Tapek necklace. That's not in the game. The Tapek build is in Land of the Morning Light. It comes from the boss Rosses, and there was also a Tapek necklace supposed to release with Land of the Morning Light originally. It was scrapped because it was a really bad item for the game. Everyone was very happy that it was scrapped, so they probably potentially reworked it. And some intern is probably going to get fired by accidentally adding it into the game files already. But all of this definitely looks like that could be an announcement for Land of the Morning Light Part 2 coming with Caltheon Ball. But yeah, there you go. Tapek Necklace is already in the game files in the items like this. So just another little thing to slightly indicate that we might be getting a part 2 sooner than later. Okay. Land of the Morning Light is a content that was released in Black Desert, including Korea in March and globally in June. Yeah. Please stop doing that. Please add them all at the same time. Thank you. And received a positive response from users. It's an area where Korea's traditional culture is expressed through games and its various building reminiscence of the Joseon dynasty, and stories containing traditional tales received favorable reviews. Yeah, it was actually amazing. I still think it was one of the better expansions. There are some issues with it, being forced to complete all the quests and everything, but the area was great. The boss fights were very interesting. It's a good addition to the game. All in all, I thought it was a huge success. Still a lot of stuff to improve on, but it was something else, and it was done in a decent way. Morning Light is the Joseon region added to Black Desert, and I've personally had a longing for Korean content since I was young. So I was very proud and happy to introduce it in Black Desert. There were lots of shortcomings when it was first released. Well, there you go. It's always nice when they actually just come out and say it. That's good. But as we continue to improve it, people seem to like it, he explained. According to director Joo, Land of Moonlight is part of Pearl Abyss's effort to add Korean flavor to the game, which was attempted through Black Desert. Pearl Abyss has continuously introduced characters with Korean colors in Black Desert, such as, this is Maver, I believe, and Musa. I know it's, wait, no, this is Tamer, and this is Musa, and this is Maver. Yeah. Warrior, like Musa in Korean translates, this is Google Translate, so it translates to warrior. But yeah, it's Tamer, Musa, and Maver. When introduced to the global market, Musa and Maver were not translated into the local languages, but were instead applied in the Korean pronunciation. Director Joo explained the game Black Desert did not suddenly create Land of Moonlight, and we tried to incorporate Korean elements from the beginning. In the case of Land of Moonlight, it became concrete when the Ocean update was applied to Black Desert in 2019. After thinking about where users would meet across the sea, we thought of the Oriental Vision and Port Rat was born. Afterwards, after various discussions, the idea of embodying a port or island from the dynasty was derived, and this received a warm response, developing into the Land of Moonlight. So originally, it was supposed to be a whole new continent. They changed the world map to now be that island of Land of the Morning Light. But originally in the game, Port Rat was part, you got up there, and it was actually a full new continent that was supposed to take form. However, I believe the issue was that they wanted to make it a separate server where it all occurred because it was so far away and all that. So you kind of had to go into a new server, and they couldn't make that work for stuff like the marketplace. So they ended up completely scrapping that idea of a full continent up there, and then they made the island, which is now Land of the Morning Light. Director Joo said, at first we thought a small area, but the response was so hot that we developed it further. With the theme of Jae-sang, each member of the development team freely imagined and implemented monster characters and stories. We also changed it to Nampo Port, which was strong Jason colors, he added. During this process, numerous concept drawings were created and incorporated into the actual game. It is said that many parts of the nearly original paintings, such as Scholar looking at the scenery from a high place or port distance, were actually realized. The scenery of the village, the Goblin Forest, and the Sipnip Forest, monsters such as the Nine-Tailed Fox, Mountain Army and Golden Pig King, Bamboo Leaf Army General, and the Bird were planned. And attractive characters such as Gumiho, the human form of the leader Nine-Tailed Fox, were also created. Don't you just love it when they come out and say it? Surprise! People love boobies. In particular, the Korean characters of Wusa and Mego were also created to create immersion in the Land of Moonlight. Wusa and Mego are characters set as gurus who use magic and now were welcomed as a concept that was differentiated from the existing ones. It was the first introduced at a user communication event held in Las Vegas and drew enthusiastic responses from overseas users. In addition, in terms of content, a new attempt was made, an area without hunting grounds, so without grinding. In Korea, they call them hunting grounds. No grind spots. We wanted to reduce the burden on users due to the addition of a new grind spot and provide a different experience from before. I actually think this was really good. I think it was a brilliant move to focus on the boss rushes. Because the cool thing about the boss rush is the different levels, right? So everyone, you're coming, even in season, but coming out of season, you do your quest and all that, you can start doing the boss rushes at different difficulties and work your way up. It's not like if they added a grind spot, then they would have to add like multiple AP levels, or they would make them in-game spots and then only in-game players could do it. If they made an in-game spot and a mid-game spot, well, the mid-game players would only get one grind spot, right? Content. They couldn't do the other ones until way later. The in-game players could do one area, but they wouldn't want to do the other one because it's probably not worth it. So by doing it like this, basically every player in the game gets the full content, the full experience, gets to play all the bosses, all the new stuff, just at different difficulty levels. So I actually think it was like an amazing way of adding content into the game that more people would be able to partake in and experience. Now, obviously, we want to see new grind spots and everything as well, because that is a very integral part of the game. And it's always exciting to go to new areas and try those out and explore that. And honestly, there's lacking reasons to be in Land of the Morning Light. At this stage here, you just go to the Magnus once a week, you kill your bosses, you go away, and you don't come back until next week. It's a bit boring, it's also annoying. So a lot of us would just hope that you could go into the boss rush without having to go over there. But that also gives like even less reason to even enter the region. So I do hope in part 2 that they update that a bit. Or maybe, something else. Make it worth going over there for something. Instead, battles against multiple bosses were implemented and the story was strengthened to increase immersion. So I do have a thing to say about this as well. I love that they did story, like Korean folk tales and story. The problem was that they were just way too similar in the structure of them. Like the quest line with the storytelling, it's beat for beat the same. So it kind of took you out when you were doing them in a row. It took you out of any given story because like it just felt like a copy paste. So that was a bit annoying. Another issue that I had with it was that you felt like you had to do them, and you had to do them in like one go, because you had to do all of the quest lines, all of the stories to get the light orbs, which would give you buffs to do the bosses. So honestly, I would have loved to go through them nice and slow over like a couple of weeks potentially. But on the last day of the reset, I felt like I had to rush through them, and I just spammed R for the last 4 bosses, and it's just annoying. If you could just get at least the rewards, so you could do the bosses when you unlock them at high difficulty, you could do one boss at a time and then start doing it. Basically, the rewards were too mandatory at the end of the entire thing. But yeah, hopefully they can improve stuff like that. I like the idea of it. The execution was not that great, honestly. So Seoul Land of the Morning Light has become a content with the highest level of story completion in Black Desert. Well, that's because they forced you to do it, right? It's like, yeah, no wonder it has the highest story completion in any region. You kind of have to do it. The rewards are too good. If you want to do the content, you have to complete all of the story and everything. So yeah, no wonder. That's a bit backwards. Major background objects were also implemented using photos providing by culture, heritage administration. This is really cool, by the way. They work with like museum and stuff like that, and got real old school things and pictures and everything. It looks great. The region looks amazing. And as somebody that has actually been to South Korea, it felt like being there when you like in the palaces and stuff like that. Some of those places I felt like, wait, that was where I was. I stood there and took a picture and stuff like that. It's really well done. It's really, really well done. Major background subgrams was to implement useful cultural heritage. What? The actual atmosphere of the Joseon dynasty was brought to life as much as possible, including the architecture, various ceramics, and even the table setting with soup and rice. Numerous Korean oral tales were also used to enhance the Korean atmosphere. We actively borrowed from folk tales that have proven to be popular and entertaining, and especially chose stories that people can sympathize with, even if they're not familiar with our culture. It is a story of first love, a story of affection between parent and child, etc., etc. It is said that they also took into account aspects from domestic users would prefer and paid attention to ensuring that Korean users would feel like at home in the visited Land of Morning Light. Prior to the launch of Morning Light, the Korean characters Wusa and Megu were introduced first to create a natural atmosphere. It's a story about Taoist monks from Joseon crossing over to the Western continent and opening up the Land of the Morning Light. I think it was really good actually reading the characters first. The story was done really well for this. Director Cho said, even after its release, we showed the awakening of Wusa and Megu and also presented Sugong, which tied to all continent the Gungo materials such as the Dragon King, the Rabbit and the Turtle, and the Jae-sang Joo. Is this? I think it's like the event stuff. The Dragon King. I think this was the underwater event thingy. I might be wrong about that. Although not getting much popularity, Musa, he said, I think we have secured fans by releasing an audiobook containing the story about behind Megu. Okay. Director Cho said that he clearly recognized the thirst of users for Korean content through its experience with Land of Moonlight, and he also felt the need to produce more complete content. Also felt happy that I had contributed to promoting Korea to global users. Since it is story-centric content, we're also considering making up for the fact that it's only a one-time content. Lastly, here we go, boys. Director Cho also revealed that Hongwei-do edition that is currently being prepared. The Seoul area will appear, and the home time of Megu and Wusa will also appear. NPCs that were loved in the Donghae series, the original release, will reappear, and you will also be able to see a new appearance of the Nine-tailed Fox. Director Cho said, it came out a few years after Morning Country was first introduced, and the Hongwei-do edition will be developed much faster. He concluded, the Morning Country had many twists and turns during the development process, but that is not the case anymore. So those turns and twists is basically how they couldn't make it work to be a full continent and had to rework the entire world, and that took a long time to do. So yeah, like this plus the fact that we have actually some leaked code in the game with the Tapek neck already being added to the neck enchant, I think we might get an announcement of Land of Moonlight Part 2 at Calthorne Ball, December 16th. So don't forget to tune in, hit that follow, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.